Hello, this is old Mr. Kent again, and I think this is lesson 7. And so we're going to talk about 3 things today. We're going to talk about the downbeat, and we're going to talk about using your fingers in your right hand to reach across and do an octave, play 2 notes at the same time. And we're also going to be talking about the sustain pedal. And so we'll get into those in a minute. But first of all, what is the downbeat? Well, for instance, if I was a orchestra director, this is not a wand, but anyway, if I was an orchestra director, when I go like this, that's the first beat, okay, of a measure. And so, like, for instance, if we were going to do Jingle Bells, I'd be there and I'd say, jingle bells, jingle all the way, okay? So the first beat, and I tell you this because earlier in another video, I said the first, when you just put your fingers on the C chord, C, E, and G, you'll probably find the first note of the song in one of those 3 chords. And so, and that was right at the time that we were learning that. So Jingle Bells would be, I don't remember which key it is, but anyway, I always have to start over again. So anyway, that's true. Now, there's only one exception to that. And the exception is, like, for instance, if we're going to say happy birthday, okay? Now, watch this. Happy birthday to you. Did you notice I said happy before the downbeat? Watch this again. Happy birthday to you. So we don't, the first note of happy birthday is not the downbeat. It's the second. So happy birthday to, because that first note, believe it or not, is like the last note on the previous measure. We'll just say that. You don't have to know that. But it's like an introductory, and like Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. See, the note for is not the same note as the downbeat. And just like happy birthday. Happy birthday. See, happy birthday. And like you see, Amazing Grace. So the very first note is not always the downbeat note. So you listen for the downbeat note in the song, and that's going to be most likely all the time, is going to be one of the 3 notes in the key of C. It'd be C, E, or G, okay? Now, I needed to show you that with my wand so you would understand. And if you have any questions about that, well, be sure and put them down in the comments. All right, let's move the camera and take a look at the keyboard. All right, here we are at the keyboard. And for instance, just to follow up, if we want to do Amazing Grace. All right, here we go. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Did you notice the first note was not the downbeat? The downbeat note is amazing. So that's where the downbeat note comes in handy. All right, so let's move on. The sustain pedal is important if you're going to make good music. For instance, let me give you an example. If I do Amazing Grace, here we go. Hear how I'm holding this. Now, if I don't use the pedal, it's a. Okay, now we'll do it with the pedal. And what you do is, just a second now. Amazing Grace. And so every time you get to a new downbeat, then you let up on the pedal. Now watch close. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Actually, I'll put it this way. You'll feel it when it's time to let up on the pedal, because that wasn't exactly what I did. So, Amazing Grace. And I guess on the next downbeat it was. I let up on the pedal. And then, how sweet. But you don't want to keep your foot on it, because here's what happens if you leave your foot on it the whole time. Amazing gets really messy. So you have to practice using your sustain pedal, and there's a picture of mine. And so you just kind of know when to let up and come down again. I should take a video. Maybe I'll do that on one of my lessons. Take a video of my foot while I'm playing the song. That might be better. Anyway, so using the sustain pedal will make your music sound a lot more full. All right, so that's one thing. Now, the other thing I want to teach you this morning is we'll do Amazing Grace. Oh, by the way, now I'm showing you. Octave. Okay. Amazing Grace. See, that sounds much better than... Okay, so octave to octave. Makes it much more enjoyable, a much fuller sound. And so as you do your practicing now, make sure that you're spanning out an octave and play all your songs with those two, with your fingers out a full octave, and they'll sound a whole lot better. Let's see, and then if you use the pedal and that, and you notice I'm doing the oompa. Now watch. Okay, so if you've been practicing the oompa, and now the next thing to do is, and by the way, just to point out, if you haven't been practicing, this is going to be hard. So you need to back up to the lesson where we talked about the oompa and make sure you get that down and practice it. If you're not practicing, this becomes a chore, and it should be enjoyable. So don't move forward in the lessons, and back up if you need to, because you're making it a chore if you try to go too fast. Because this is supposed to be enjoyable, and you don't want it to be a chore. It's like I said, just at the very beginning, practice for 20 minutes a day. Don't kill yourself practicing. Maybe make 2 sessions, but it depends on how fast you want to learn. It's a slow process. It's not overnight, and you can actually learn to play the piano by ear if you follow the lessons and take your time. So if you need to go back and start over in another lesson, well, then do that. And make sure by the time you get to lesson number 7 that you've got all those things we talked about covered. Now you need to start practicing with your sustain pedal also when you play, even if you go back to another lesson. The sustain pedal, you'll know when to let up and when not to. Because it sounds strange if you don't let it up and down again. It's like this. See, I just let up on it between those 2 notes. Now, if I don't let up on it, see, that doesn't work. So when you get to the right point, that's when you let up and push down again. Here we go. Oh, sorry. See, it's still sustained, but between each note or each chord, usually you do it between the chords, that's when you let up on the pedal and right down again on top of it. So you can have beautiful music. Okay, if you don't use this, that's holding it down properly. Don't let up on it, it stinks. All right, so that's enough for this lesson, number 7. And I thank you for watching the video, and God bless.